Hey guys, John V here from Phone Arena. You're watching our in-depth video review of the Samsung Focus 2, the follow-up successor to the original Samsung Focus from a while ago. It also follows after the Samsung Focus Flash and the Focus S, which was launched back in the fall. Now this guy supports 4G LTE connectivity and is priced very affordably at $50 a 2-year contract. It's rather difficult to believe that this guy is a budget-oriented smartphone just because it has a very adorable-looking design. Very curvy, typical Samsung-made handset, all plastic, but we definitely like the white color. It makes for a really clean appearance, doesn't display a lot of dirt, debris. Solid in construction, good lightweight feel, and of course, overall, we're pretty content with the looks of it. Even though it's not necessarily a new thing, we're still quite happy with the 4-inch WVGA Super AMOLED display on the Samsung Focus 2. Of course, with WVGA resolution, that's pretty much the norm that we see with most Windows phones. It's sufficient enough for most things, and seeing that it has an AMOLED panel, it manages to capture attention thanks to its wide viewing angles, its punchy color tones, and its high contrast. So below the display you have your trio of Windows buttons, same thing we find before in other handsets. They're spaced far away from one another to reduce any accidental presses, and on top of that, the backlighting is pretty strong. On the opposite side, you have the narrow earpiece, you have the front-facing VGA camera, and the two dots there for the light and proximity sensors. Taking a look at the right edge of the phone, we find a dedicated power button and also the shutter key. Power button's a little bit flat, but luckily both exhibit a really good tactile response. Well, on the right, the only thing we find here is just the volume control. Again, it's rather flat, but at least it's very springy. On the bottom side of the phone, we have the micro USB port for charging data connectivity, and next to that, it's just the microphone. And lastly, on the top, you have the 3.5mm headset jack and the secondary microphone for noise cancellation. Flip it over, we find the handset's 5-megapixel autofocus camera, single LED flash, the ability to shoot 720p videos, the two notches there for the speakerphone, and removing the back cover, just gotta pry it off. We gain access to its 1750mAh battery and a micro SIM card slot. Not surprisingly, the Windows Phone experience is identical to any other Windows Phone out there in the market, such as the Nokia Lumia 900 and of course the HTC Titan 2. There's nothing really different about it. It's the same old Mango experience that we've been seeing with the last few devices. The only difference between this and, let's say, a Nokia device that comes with the Daily Briefing Hub from Samsung, it provides for some pertinent information such as the weather, you have your news, stocks, and some other pertinent things. But aside from that, it's pretty much the stock experience that we find. Powered by a 1.4 GHz single-core processor, it's more than effective in providing a really fluid and responsive experience. That's rightfully what we find with pretty much any other Windows phones out there. They maintain that same lovable fluidity through pretty much all aspects of the platform, and overall, we're very happy with the overall performance. There's no argument we got spoiled by some of the handsets with larger displays out there, but with the Samsung Focus 2, there's just a little bit of adjustment required just because it has a smaller display, so the layout's a little bit cramped, but still the same lovable Windows Phone keyboard. Very responsive. It's one of the best out there with its autocorrect features. So it takes just a little bit of a learning curve, but once after that, we pretty much adjusted very quickly. Interestingly enough, the Samsung Focus 2 is actually Samsung's first Windows phone to offer 4G LTE connectivity, so you get faster data speeds, and it meets up with the times. And as far as the web browsing experience is concerned, it's pretty much like any other Windows phones before. It's phenomenal in the fact that it's super responsive with its navigational controls, and you find it more than usable. Of course, being a Windows phone, we're given the Zune experience when it comes to playing music. A very pretty looking interface when you're browsing through your albums. As far as the audio quality from the speaker, it's average with its tones, but at the loudest volume settings, it tends to exhibit just a tiny bit of squeakiness with its output. Sure, it's not blessed with some sort of gigantic display, but nevertheless, the Samsung Focus 2 is more than adequate to play high-definition videos. What we have here is encoded in XVID, 1920 by 1080 resolutions, and you can tell it's running pretty decently, no slowdown or lag, nice punchy colors thanks to the Super AMOLED panel, and overall it's more than enjoyable. Unfortunately, the Samsung Focus 2 isn't the most ideal thing to shoot photos with its 5-megapixel camera just because the quality is definitely not to par with some other devices out there. It might be decent for some outdoor sunny shots, but take it indoors, even in low lighting, it just exhibits way too much noise and the details are really grainy looking. The LED flash works, but it tends to make the colors appear somewhat washed out. In terms of calling quality, the Samsung Focus 2 isn't the best thing out there in the market for that, but it's more than effective for most occasions. But if it's a little bit noisy in the environment, you might have some difficulty just because the earpiece itself, not the strongest out there, and voices on both ends of the line sound a little bit on the robotic side. When switched to using a speakerphone, there's just a little bit of muffling going on with it. Signal strength appears to be average with the Samsung Focus 2. It displays roughly 3 to 4 bars in high coverage areas, but luckily it didn't drop any phone calls during our testing. Frankly, we're content with the battery life out of the Samsung Focus 2 with its 1750 mAh battery, but it's worth noting that we strictly used it under HSPA Plus connectivity, not LTE, and after a day it was a little bit under the 50% mark, at the 40% mark actually, so if you're on LTE, you can expect that number to drop. Honestly, for a new device sporting a $50 or 2-year contract price, the Samsung Focus 2 is not a bad phone at all. It's pretty much the same experience we find in any other Windows phone out there. It has an adorable design, solid construction, might not be the best when it comes to taking photos and videos, but for the price, it's okay. If you want something a little bit better, a little bit more comprehensive, we definitely recommend the Nokia Lumia 900 just because it seems like the better looking handset, and of course it has some other software tweaks to really enhance the experience. But if you'd like to learn more about the Samsung Focus 2, you can check out our website, guys, phonearena.com. This is John V. Thanks for watching.